His Masons that he uses, there's ones that are longer, there's ones that have a hard end on them. Excuse me. This is his, and I take a little Sharpie and mark. That's how you measure it. There's different ways to measure it that you will be taught how to do, but that's Mason's measurement, and I take a Sharpie on there and put it on there. So that's that. Surgilube, this is what you use so that it doesn't irritate the nose or the throat as you put it through, so you dip the end of the tube in it, and that helps get it down. So the tape is the most important part, because you don't want your baby's skin to be irritated with having tape on it. So the tape that I use that is the best is Duoderm, and it comes in a little circle, and I cut it in half, just like this. And then it sits right underneath his cheek, well, right underneath his eye on his cheek, but you'll see it when we put it on. And then the Tegaderm, it's a big old rectangle, and you don't want to put this on your baby's cheek, so I cut it. I take this and cut it just like that. If you can see that, I don't know. So I cut along it, so just like this. I'm going to show real quick. So that tape does not sit on his face, because the Duoderm is very good tape that doesn't irritate baby's skin. Well, it doesn't irritate Mason's skin at all. But the Tegaderm, wherever it touches, it kind of leaves a red mark on his face. So I like to cut it as close as I can. And Hypafix, this is just, this is some cloth tape that I put on the edge to keep it close to his cheek. So depending on what kind of tube you use and what you find works well for your kid, you'll put this extra tape where you want it. Some put it right on the nose, and some put it close to the ear to keep it close so your kid's not going to pull it out. So that is all that I use, and I make sure that I keep it close to where I'm going to put his NG tube in. And he's sitting right here. And I put it all close. Oh, one other little trick that I have is a dropper, and this is sugar water. So it's a 24%, I guess, solution of sugar water, and this helps him. Well, it helps him to swallow so that the tube can keep going down his throat. Okay, so now we're ready to put the NG tube in, and I just put the Duoderm right underneath his eye, and I want it as close to his nostril but not touching it. That's just how I prefer it, so it doesn't bug his little nostril, but I want to be able to tape it close to his nose so it stays close. So the tube, for putting the tube in, I like to hold up the tube and see which way it naturally curves. You can see that it curves like that. So I put it in that way so that it will hit the back of the throat and not come out through the mouth. That's just a little trick that I found out, because in the hospital it kept coming out of his mouth, and that's very annoying. So I dip it in the Surgilube, pull it out. You don't want too much on there, or else it's gonna make it hard for them to breathe. Okay, so I have all my stuff ready. I have the Hypafix that I told you about and the Tegaderm ready to tape when I get it in there. So I want to put it all the way up to his nose. That black dot, well, that black mark that I have on there is where it's going to go up to. So all that part is going to go down. So we'll see how he does. He's kind of falling asleep, but at first he'll probably sneeze and gag a little bit as I put it in. Pull it out. He's okay. You're going to be glad to be done with this, huh, Mace? So kind of the best way to do it is, I mean, it's irritating, but just give them little breaks. So I get it at least a little bit way down the nose so that it's not going to pop right out, and then give him a little bit of the sugar water so he'll swallow. Good job, Mace. And then it's just doing it slowly, because kind of hit resistance sometimes, but you don't want to push it hard. You want to kind of just make it go slow so you're not poking them somewhere in the throat. Hey, Mace. You're doing so good, bud. You're doing so good. So give him a little break. Give him some more sweeties. Is that good stuff? You're doing so good, bud. And then soon it will start getting kind of hard to push down, and that's when it starts hitting that flap where the esophagus and the trachea meet. And you don't want it to go into the lungs, obviously, so, but I feel like that's happened maybe one time, and you definitely know if it's not going down the right place, going into the right place. So we're almost there. Mace, you're doing so good. Okay, and I want to make sure I just have my tape all ready to go so I can tape it quick when I get it in the right place, because we're getting up to the black mark right there. Okay, and as I'm close, I'm just going to leave it right there for a second, and then hurry and get my tape ready. Hey! And this sometimes is the hardest part, is trying to get the tape to stick, because you want the tape to be in the right place so that it won't come, so the tube won't come off. But I am picky about how the tape is. So I bend it like that so it doesn't stick to it. It's okay. Okay, then make sure it's up there again to the black mark, because it kind of came out a little bit. It's okay, Mace. Here, I can't do it. Set that right there. Make sure it's in the right place before you tape it, obviously. This is the hardest part, because he's like, stop touching my face with your cold hands. And then make sure you get that right on the duoderm spot. Push down. Voila! Yay, Maze! And then take the Hypafix. This is how I tape it. This is my own little way that I do it. So this is really strong tape that's breathable, and I put it right next to there so that the tube doesn't go in his ear and he doesn't pull it. So that's how it's done, and then you check for placement by taking a syringe of air and blowing it while pushing it through the tube, and then you listen on your baby's stomach, depending on how you measure it, but it should be about 2 fingers below the sternum, well, halfway between the belly button and the sternum is where you're listening for that like pop of air, and make sure that it's in the right place. But he looks fine. That's how you do it. Say yay!